Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in today on a really intense viewer question. And this is perhaps one of the most popular questions that I receive here at the channel is, Peace and Harmony, how do I get back at this narcissist? How do I get back at this psychopath? I want revenge. I want them to let them know they messed around with the wrong guy. They messed around with the wrong girl. I want to let them have it. What is the best way for me to get back and let them know I'm really pissed off and there is hell to be paid, basically. So, and looking at that question, it really is important for you to understand that you do not want to get caught up in their trigger. So we all know that someone who is toxic, someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic, they are compulsive controllers. They're compulsive manipulators. Their arrow in their arrow pack, their ammunition is always their secrecy. It is always their need to control and their need to deceive and their secret life. So it is to know that that is where you hit them where it hurts. And not that we want to hurt, but I think it's definitely an important thing for you to know how you set the record straight. And this is more for yourself than for them. So it's to know that their secrecy is called out. They are exposed. It is their insecurity that is to be laid before them, which is their primary trigger. It's to let them know that their secrets have no power over you, and that their compulsive need to control, you really have now met with a sense of indifference. In other words, it doesn't get an emotional reaction out of you in your voice, in your tone of speaking, in your body, in your thoughts, in your dreams. There's no more emotional trigger. And I get a lot of comments from viewers who are still in that reactory stage where it's like, yeah, that sounds great, peace and harmony, but how do I really get there? It sounds great, but how do I really get back? So, getting back is really just knowing that you are not a trap of their compulsions. You are not a trap in their illusion. And it's being able to call that out and, call it out to yourself, because you're never really going to get closure with them. You need to maintain your own power, and it's to realize that this person had you deceived. They had you duped. They had you in a position that's inferior to them, and that's how they kept you down. So it's really what I would call, a lot of people don't want to say that, but it's really kind of coming out of the shadows for yourself. You realize that they had put you in the shadows, and it's like, it's just like having that common sense conversation within yourself, knowing they put me in the shadows, they put me here. It's not now my choice not to stay. And so if you want to, sometimes people feel a great degree of relief, just telling them that I'm not going to stay in the shadows where you've put me. Sorry, you don't know me. It's really that statement that you know yourself better than they do. Because those compulsive controllers, those people who think that they can control others through lying, that they're going to have power over them, that's their thrill. It's like taking the plug out of that thrill. You don't know me that well. It's showing them, you're taking them down from the pedestal that they have erected for themselves. Because really, that's where their hurting spot is. That is the juice. That is their DNA, is their need for that secrecy. And realize that it's the goal of these relationships to get you to overly emotionally react. Meaning the triggers that they plant, how they're going to trigger you, whether it's about religion or politics or your job or your hair or your lifestyle, whatever it is, there's always going to be a button, for them to try to push. And unbeknownst to you, that is what had occurred earlier in the relationship. So it's saying, you know, your goal to set people off is really uninteresting. I mean, just showing that you are disinterested and bored is perhaps a great way for you to get back. That the drama, isn't what you crack it up to be. It's bringing it down. It's bringing that emotional charge that they have triggered you into. It is bringing that down to size. It is bringing it to a place where you now can state and declare that is disinteresting, that's unattractive. It's an unattractive way to have a relationship, and it's not interesting to you. You don't find that worth your energy. And when you do that, you value your own energy, you value your own perspective, you validate yourself, and you're like calling it out, even though you're habituated and memorized to put up with it because you think that's what relationships are. It's all about the compromise. But when you're dealing with this sort of person, you're really under the control gun. You're really under their sort of magnetic control, and not in a positive way. As we were saying before in previous videos, there's not an empowering sense where you're walking your walk of life, seeing what you want to see on your terms, and then sharing and enhancing it with others. There's always got to be a jab. There's always got to be an insult. They are compulsive. It's an insatiable need for control. Just like, an addict, a heroin addict, we hear all about in the U.S. right now about the opioid crisis. I mean, their lives are ravished. They're out of control. They cannot help themselves. A narcissist, a psychopath, the same way. They have an insatiable need to control, and you're not going to be able to stop it. And so to tell them, I'm not responsible, for your overreaction, because you're not. It has nothing to do with you. Realize that it's their compulsive need, and they're really going to hit hard on those people who they feel are, the most vulnerable, the most caring, the most loving. Those, they're going to try to sabotage those people who they're really secretly jealous of because they possess the good qualities, like not wanting to control others, having empathy, wanting to listen. As the viewer so aptly stated, there's people who are interested in others. And I'm interested, just like I feel I'm interested in my viewership. And I thank you all so much for your viewership and your continued support. But not only that, I'm so appreciative of your comments and your support of each other and sharing all the specifics that you have experienced, because that's what makes you you. That's what your witness to what has gone on. And when you witness something, this is real. I mean, it is actually taken place. And some of the horror stories that the viewers have shared with us is just like, jaw-dropping. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. And we see a lot of that, but it's very difficult to feel like that warfare is at your doorstep. That, how did you invite this in? You didn't, unbeknownst to you, you did not mean to invite this into your life. So maintain your power, maintain your neutrality, maintain your sense of indifference and disinterest, I would say, in them, even though it hurts you as a person who is sensitive, as a person who is empathetic, who loves them. You can't really love this person in the way you want to love. It's just not going to happen. That's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, that's a big hunk of medicine right there to try to, break down and get it in the gullet and like really swallow it and not have to take only one dose. You might have to realize you cannot love this person in the way you want to love them. You can't love freely. You can't be carefree. You can't be courageous. You can't be silly. You can't be loving and embracing in the way you want to be, because they are going to hold that very quality against you. Your desire for like consistent communication or to make plans and be responsible and be committed. These people freak out. I mean, they are not able to maintain these sort of relationships. They just cannot do it. It is, even though they might have a facade or lead you along temporarily, it is temporary. So be careful of those emotional reactions. And also, it's kind of like the aftershocks, be careful that those emotional reactions. I'm trying to deal with this cervical collar here. We've only got a couple more weeks of this, folks, and then we're out running free. So thanks for hanging with me during this like major recovery. So we are almost there. In fact, I think we can do without it. We're getting strong enough. We're just going to do some physical therapy or massages or whatever it is that they do, and then we should be back in action without this cervical collar. So also having a neutral facial expression. How do you really get back at them? It's just like when you're usually like, yay, oh my God, that's so cool. You're this, you're that. I mean, it's always about them. It's never about you. They're never curious, like a viewer said, about you. They're never interested in what you thought of the show, what you thought of the movie, how you felt, what happened in your past. They're not really interested. They're in you, truly. I mean, and they, if anything, they're more interested in how they played a role in your life. They're not interested in your life. They're interested in their role in your life. So it's just how it's really amazing how every single thing can be turned around to be about them. I mean, it really becomes quite laughable. And so, part of getting back at them is just being able to laugh. I mean, I don't advocate like laughing at somebody, but when you really think about how intense it is and like how mean or some of the really acts of betrayal, you can almost laugh at it and just like have, try to kind of encourage kind of a jovial reaction like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. Like, and not in a good way, but just like disgusted. You need to have like an element of disgust, and that's okay. A lot of people give up on the world, this and that and this. No, I mean, just if you can laugh it away and just be like, oh my God, that was ridiculous. Like, I dealt with that for years, or I dealt with that here. We've got viewers who are dealing with this in their workplace on a day-to-day basis. Begin to get like a little bit of a socially acceptable, laughable quality. Like, this is ridiculous. I mean, just begin to really, move your emotional energy charge away from that and not be triggered. Neutral facial expressions, like no emotional reaction in your voice. It's just like, get control. I mean, do not be reactive. And, the character assassination, is not a good thing, because they've defamed your character. Really, you're going to try to defame my character to make yourself look better. That doesn't fly. That's so ineffective. People will always know the truth, and I will know the truth, and that's really all that matters. So when you want to really like get back at them, it's like calling out their secrecy, calling out these sort of manipulative things that they have done. These tactics just don't work on you. They are ineffective. Letting them know that this is not effective will dismantle them. I mean, you're calling out their tools of manipulation. And especially those character assassinations, when they're trying to defame your character, always point out something negative of you. You can never let you forget it. It's just like, really? You're still holding on to that sad straw. It's like, get a life. And then, but you need to like leave. You need to not engage with them. But this is the sort of process, if you can engage in internally, I think it'll be a lot more effective, because at least you're able to understand and process internally, and that's where it all begins. So really the one who needs closure is you. The more negative reaction you give them to get back at them, you're still saying that they're in the driving seat. They're still controlling your behavior. But you need to kind of modulate your emotions so that you have a state of indifference. You have a state of like, I really don't care. That's not interesting. That's not attractive. That whole, woe is me, the narcissist who no one can, no one is good enough. I need to pursue this. I need to pursue that. Or, I need this, in other words, all the excuses they give of why they can't be civil in a relationship. Yep. No one really understands you, do they? I mean, leave it at that. Leave them in that isolation, because if they isolate others in the way that they character assassinate others and defame them and make them look bad and make people always trying to struggle to get out of the hole that they create for them, really, I mean, you just need to let that go, because otherwise it's going to perpetuate when you least expect it. So it's just saying character assassination, that doesn't fly. That's so ineffective. That's the status straw to have to grab for, really, but don't engage in really, but just make a statement. Do not engage with these people. I know we have viewers who are still, kind of in that, but if you make statements, do not make it emotionally raged at them, because then you're in a reactive state. So always check yourself. Check yourself. Am I being reactive? That's not right. Let me engage in positive, orderly direction thinking and not be reactive. Make it a statement. Really, that's a sad straw to reach at. Character assassination. Make a statement. Be wise. Incorporate, your intellect and begin to objectify it and not take it so personally. Again, what they do, they're going to perpetuate wherever they go. And so those are really, the red flags. And, being able to make statements and not act all freaked out. You're not egging their house. You're not doing anything crazy. It's just you're making statements that hit them more in terms of a memory, like they did, they got a smart cookie when they missed out on you. You know better. And, when they all, you can just say your anger, and process this to yourself, your anger is not my responsibility. Because oftentimes in a narcissistic kind of echo relationship where you're kind of an echoist to them, you tend to take on their anger and their needs as your responsibility. Like, oh yeah, that's how this relationship works. Like, you pout and I come and take care of you and I do this and I do that and you need me to, do this for you and do that, and I'm just gonna, I sacrifice myself here, and like that's just so jolly, and that's how our relationship goes, and we're two peas in a pod. Not, it's calling it what it is and having the courage to do that, and owning your statements and not being reactive. It's just from a state of knowing. And if you have to practice or rehearse it and know it within yourself, because these are really the lessons you're going to need to deal with and adapt moving forward, is knowing that this is the how, why, and what of what happened. How else, do you really get back at them? Knowing that they are compulsive controllers. It's just knowing that they're going to control the restaurant. They're going to, take the food off your plate. They're going to, comment. They're going to make you feel like your belongings are not your belongings. You know what I'm talking about, where they kind of take over your life, take over your house, take over your appearance, telling you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You can't even think for yourself. You know what I'm talking about. And so really get out of the shadow. Really come out of the shadow. Secrecy is their weapon. Call out their secrecies, and you will have gotten back not only to them, but you will get back to you. You will arrive back at the real you, who is lovable, magnificent, just the way you are. You can do this. Get back at it now and get back to you, the real you, the happy you, the wise you, the sharp, razor keen you. Now, it's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.